Today, B's story will bring everyone a very captivating series. After my parents die in a suspicious car crash, I falls into despair. My future is shattered when her art school application is mysteriously rejected. Years later, I discovers that my best friend Rosy had stolen my painting, swapped the exam results, and built a career and fame on this stolen identity. The fire burned bright too bright. Flames danced against the pitch-black sky like devils let loose, devouring every last piece of the tenant mansion. The heat licked Mary Lane's face as she stood on the hill, watching it all crumbling. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just stood there, a ghost with clenched fists, her breath steady despite the chaos below. They say vengeance doesn't bring peace, but they haven't lived Mary's life. 6 years ago, she was a starry-eyed senior at Greenville High School, talented, quiet, a painter with dreams. Her parents believed in her, even sold their only car so she could prepare for her scholarship exam at the prestigious New York School of the Arts. Then everything fell apart. She failed the exam. Her parents died in a car crash the same week. And Rosalie Tennant, her best friend, the town's beloved beauty queen, announced she had won the scholarship with a painting titled Moonlight Over Atlantic. Mary's painting. Rosy had stolen it, replaced Mary's name, and no one believed otherwise. Now, the golden girl was gone along with her parents and their fortune. The fire had taken them all. Or rather, Mary had. This was not madness. It was calculation. She had gathered the evidence, emails, exam records, even a recording of Henry Tennant, Rosy's father, bribing the judges and admitting his role in her father's death, all sent to newsrooms, investigators, art institutions. And now she waited. When the sirens began to howl in the distance, Mary didn't flinch. She took one final breath of freedom, pulled out the vial from her coat pocket, and drank the poison she had prepared years ago. But fate, cruel and strange, had a different plan. Darkness overtook her, and when Mary opened her eyes again, she was 16. When I opened my eyes, the world was too bright. The ceiling above me wasn't cracked and damp like the cheap apartment I used to live in. It was smooth, white, familiar. I sat up with a jolt. The bed, the desk, the posters on the wall, my old art sketches, still pinned there like ghosts of dreams past. I reached for my phone and nearly dropped it when I saw the lock screen. April 12, 2011. No, that couldn't be right. This had to be a mistake. But then I saw the calendar, the textbooks, my old canvas bag with the broken zipper I had thrown away years ago. And then I heard it, a voice, from the hallway. Mary, hurry up or you'll miss the bus. My mother's voice. God, my mother. I stumbled to the door like I was walking underwater. There she stood, apron dusted in flour, spatula in hand, her tired eyes still smiling. She was alive. I don't remember throwing my arms around her, but I remember the way her body stiffened in surprise. And then she laughed. That same gentle laugh I had tried so hard to remember in the years after she was gone. Okay, no need for an Oscar performance, she teased, kissing the top of my head. And then came my dad grumbling about burnt toast, newspaper under one arm, coffee in the other. He was alive too. I barely held it together through breakfast. It wasn't a dream. Or if it was the kind that would break me when I woke up. But deep down, I knew. This was real. Somehow, impossibly, I had come back to the beginning. Before the betrayal, before the fire, before everything fell apart. I was 16 again. That morning, I walked into school as if I were stepping into a museum of my own past. Everything was there frozen in time. The crooked lockers, the chipped paint on the stair rail, the faint smell of cafeteria tater tots that always hit you before second period. I passed by my old classroom, room 204, and peeked in through the glass. My younger self used to sit by the window, always by the window where I could daydream and draw quietly, ignored by the world. I wasn't going to sit there again. When homeroom started, the room buzzed with noise and hormones. Girls fixing their hair, boys trying to look bored. I walked in with my bag slung over one shoulder and took the second seat in the third row, not too close to the teacher, not too far to get forgotten. That's when I saw him. John Boston. He strolled into class 5 minutes late. Headphones still hanging from his neck. His blazer slung over one arm like it was a burden. Messy black hair, strong eyebrows. That permanent smirk, he looked exactly like I remembered him, only younger, softer. He hadn't yet become the man in the suits, the heir to DY Media, the charming devil that Rosy wrapped around her perfectly manicured finger. Not yet. He was just a reckless 17-year-old boy. And still, I felt a chill run through me. John stopped at the desk beside mine. He blinked once, tilted his head, and looked me up and down like he was trying to place me. Then came that infamous grin. "Mary Lane, right?" he asked. "I heard you can draw apples that actually look like apples." Impressive. I didn't answer. I just raised an eyebrow. He chuckled, slouched into the chair next to me, and kicked his feet up like he owned the school. "Don't worry, I'm not here to flirt. I just got moved to this class because of some disciplinary issues." Of course he did. In the last life, I never paid much attention to John. He was a side character in Rosy's story, another admirer, another heart conquered. But now, I was looking at him differently, not because of what he was, but because of what I had done to his future. I wondered, when I burned the tenant house down, did he grieve for Rosy? Did he ever learn the truth? Did he ever curse my name in the dark? And then came a memory like a knife. John on TV, years later, stoic at Rosy's funeral, standing beside her portrait. No tears, just silence. They said he never dated again. Did he love her? Or was he like me, just another victim of her lies? My thoughts were interrupted when a paper ball landed on my desk. I looked to my right. John grinned, propping his chin on one hand. Inside the ball was a scribbled message. "You always look like you're plotting someone's murder." Cool. I smirked. It was the first real smile I'd managed since waking up in this borrowed second chance. I picked up my pen, and for the first time since coming back, I wrote something that wasn't born from pain or loss. "You'll never guess how right you are." I passed the note back. After the first week back, I realized something strange. The world felt familiar, but I wasn't just living the past, I was rewriting it. I didn't join the art club this time. I avoided Rosy in the hallways. I stayed far, far away from the people who had once stolen everything from me. But fate, like a bored cat, seemed to enjoy knocking down all the walls I built. Because by the end of that week, Rosy found me anyway. She cornered me in the girls' restroom after biology class, all perfume and perfect teeth. "Mary," she chirped, "where have you been hiding?" Her voice was as sweet as ever, a smile like polished glass. If I hadn't lived through what she would become, I might have believed she actually cared. "I've been studying," I said simply, brushing past her. But she blocked the door with one heel. "Well, you missed the art prep session. I saved a seat for you." That's how it always began. She'd pretend to be kind, to help, to share. And then she'd take everything, my sketchbook, my ideas, my future. This time I wouldn't let her. "I'm not doing art anymore," I said. Her smile flickered, just for a second. Then she laughed. "That's silly. You've always loved painting. No, I had always loved painting. She had always loved what I painted. I've changed, I said, steady and calm. And I think you should too. She tilted her head. That little twitch in her eye, barely noticeable, was her tell. She didn't like being told what to do. But before she could reply, the bathroom door swung open. "Rosy, Coach is looking for you," a girl said breathlessly. Rosy looked back at me one last time, her voice sugar-laced again. "We'll catch up later. Besties always do." She left. In the mirror, I barely recognized myself. Not because I looked different, same short dark hair, same tired eyes, but because for the first time in years, I wasn't afraid of her. I was afraid of myself, because deep down, the rage was still there, quiet, coiled like a snake. I didn't want revenge this time. I just wanted peace. But sometimes, peace costs more than war. That night, as I biked home through the dusky streets, a voice called out behind me. "Mary!" I stopped. John Boston jogged up beside me, his backpack half open, his tie loose like he never really learned to wear it. "You forgot this," he said, holding out a thin notebook. I blinked. It was my math journal. "I didn't even realize," I started. "You dropped it outside chemistry," he said. "Figured you'd want it before you buried yourself in formulas again." I took it slowly. "Thanks." He stood there, hands in his pockets, not moving. "What?" I asked. He shrugged. "You're different, you know. Smarter. Sadder too." My grip on the notebook tightened. "You don't know me," I said. "No," he agreed, tilting his head. "But I want to." I looked at him, really looked. The sunlight was gone. Only the golden haze of streetlights framed his face now. For a moment, he didn't look like the rich heir, or the class clown, or the boy from a future filled with heartbreak. He looked kind. "I don't think that's a good idea," I whispered. "Then I definitely will," he said. He walked off before I could stop him, and I stood there, under the yellow glow, wondering if some ghosts never stay quiet, maybe some hearts never stay closed. Some people think high school is a place of learning. It isn't. It's a battlefield. And if you're not holding a sword, you're just someone else's practice dummy. I knew this better than anyone. So when I saw Hannah Quinn quiet, pale, soft-spoken Hannah chatting with Rosy by the art room after school, my stomach sank. In my last life, Rosy needed a scapegoat to replace me after I disappeared from the art program. That scapegoat had been Hannah. Her paintings were clean and classical, but she lacked ambition. The kind of girl who'd smile through tears while someone else took her work. Rosy liked girls like that. By the time the scandal of stolen artwork came out years later, Hannah had already dropped out of art school. She was never the same. Not this time. Not if I could help it. That afternoon, I waited by the school gates in the light drizzle, my coat zipped tight, my mind whirring like a machine. When Hannah walked out, umbrella tucked under her arm, I stepped forward. "Hey," I said, keeping my tone casual. She blinked, clearly surprised. "Mary, right?" I nodded. She hesitated. "She's been really nice to me lately." "Yeah," I said bitterly. "She's always nice, at first." Hannah looked confused. I didn't blame her. How do you tell someone they're about to be used, stolen from, and discarded like a paint-stained rag? So I tried another approach. "Just be careful," I said quietly, "especially during the art entrance trials. If anything weird happens, if anyone hovers too long around your portfolio, trust your gut." Hannah stared at me. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because no one warned me," I thought. Out loud, I said. Because I know what it's like to lose everything for trusting the wrong person. She didn't respond right away, just nodded once and walked away. The raindrops began to fall harder. I stood there in the growing mist, feeling like I had just nudged a stone off the edge of a cliff. I could only hope. It landed where it needed to. That night, I buried myself in homework. I studied history until the dates blurred, memorized civics notes until the ink smeared beneath my fingers. This was the path I'd chosen: no art, no distractions, no shadows of the past. At least that's what I told myself. But at exactly 9:41 p.m, my phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. You always carry the world like it's a punishment. Ever thought of just holding someone's hand instead? I stared at the message for a long time. John Boston. Leave it to him to flirt like a poem and punch like a dare. I didn't reply, but I smiled. Just a little. It started with a seat change. Mr. Callahan, our civics teacher, had decided we talked too much in the back row. So, naturally, I ended up next to John in the front row, right under the fluorescent lights, right where everyone could see. Destiny, John whispered as he slouched beside me, chin on his palm. I rolled my eyes. More like punishment. He grinned. Funny, I thought you liked pain. Only when it's yours. He laughed under his breath and leaned a little too close. We're going to be great friends, Mary Lane. I didn't answer. I was too busy reminding myself he was Rosy's fiancé. He would fall for her. He would forget me. But in this life, he hadn't met that version of her yet. And that was dangerous. Later that week, I was walking home through the park near my street when I heard the sound of sneakers scuffing behind me. I turned, already half annoyed, half anxious, and there he was again. John Boston, wearing his signature grey hoodie, hands in his pockets, like he'd just strolled out of a year novel and into my bad day. You following me? I asked. He shrugged. Maybe. Or maybe we live in the same direction. Or maybe it's fate again. You think everything's fate? No, he said. Just the things that make me curious. I stopped walking. He stopped too, and in the orange glow of the setting sun, he tilted his head and asked, "What happened to you, Mary?" The question hit harder than I expected. What do you mean? You single quotes, different. Like you've lived more than the rest of us. Like you already know how the story ends. I looked away. Maybe I do. He studied me for a moment, then said something soft, almost too quiet to catch. Even if it ends badly, doesn't mean it wasn't worth living. My breath caught. He didn't press further, just walked ahead, hands still in his pockets, whistling something off-key. He was wrong, of course. Some endings weren't worth the price. But as I watched him vanish around the corner, I realized something. He wasn't just trouble. He was the kind of trouble that made you forget you'd built a wall for a reason. I'm pairing you up, Mrs. Carter announced, her voice like chalk against concrete, for the Civic Reform Project. Due in 3 weeks. No excuses. The room groaned in unison. I didn't. I already knew what was coming. Because, of course, fate has a twisted sense of humor. Lane and Boston. I didn't even look up. I could feel his grin from 3 desks away. At lunch, he dropped into the chair across from me like he owned the table. No offense, I muttered, but I work better alone. John shrugged, biting into an apple. No offense, but I make everything better. I stared at him. I meant the project, he added quickly. I didn't smile. Not exactly, but my lips twitched, and that was enough for him to act like he'd won something. We met at the library the next day, not because I wanted to, because he wouldn't stop texting me about civic justice memes and article links and team bonding. He even printed a schedule. In color, John Boston, printed, a schedule. I was afraid the world might end before the fire ever happened. "All right," he said, dropping a pile of books on the table. "We're doing this on juvenile justice reform. I figured you'd like something serious." I blinked. "You chose something important." He scratched his neck. "I mean, I was gonna pick school uniforms are a crime. But then I remembered you'd probably stab me with a pen." He wasn't wrong. But still, I was surprised. Impressed, even. We worked for hours. And I hated how easy it was. I hated that he understood logic faster than I did. That he listened. That he made me laugh. Not big, not loud, but the kind that snuck up on you like a warm gust in winter. I was slipping. I knew it. But maybe part of me wanted to. The next day, everything changed. Because as I left the library after a late tutoring session, I saw Rosy standing by my locker, waiting. Her eyes were sharp, her lips pink and sweet like poison apples. "Hey, Mary," she said, tilting her head. "Can we talk?" I looked around. The hallway was almost empty. Just her and me and the echo of footsteps. "I heard you've been spending a lot of time with John lately," she said, casually. "Here it comes." I nodded. "We're project partners." She smiled. "That's cute. He's a bit much, right?" "Not really." "Oh." Her eyes gleamed. "Well, just be careful. He doesn't always know how to draw lines. Especially with girls like you." Girls like me? I wanted to ask her what that meant. But I already knew. Girls who aren't pretty enough to threaten her, but smart enough to make her nervous. Girls who don't worship her. Girls who remember what she did. So I smiled back. "Thanks for the warning, Rosy," I said. "But I don't think you need to worry about me." She hesitated. I leaned closer. "If anything," I whispered, "you should worry about yourself." Then I walked away. My heart pounded, my hands shook, but I didn't stop. Because I had learned something that day. Rosy didn't just want to control people's futures. She was terrified of anyone who remembered the past. John and I had found a rhythm research after school, notes via email, coffee runs where he insisted on paying, and I insisted on punching his shoulder in protest. I hated how easy it felt. Like I could have had this life all along. Until I saw the sketchbook. It was Friday afternoon. I had stayed behind to return a library book and passed by the art room. That's when I saw Hannah, clutching her bag to her chest, eyes red, and Rosy, handing a notebook to her father, principal tenant. I froze in the hallway, half shadowed by a pillar. Rosy smiled like it was just another Wednesday. "I think this work is promising," she said to her father. "She could be a finalist, don't you think?" I couldn't see the page, but I didn't need to. I'd seen that painting before. It wasn't Hannah's. It was mine. A sketch I'd done in my past life. One I'd shown only to Rosy. A tide of rage boiled up in my chest, but not fear. Not anymore. This wasn't just history repeating. This was theft happening in real time. And this time, I could stop it. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because of what Rosy was doing, but because of how close I was to becoming her. I had the power now. Knowledge, foresight. And if I chose, I could destroy her. But I didn't want to be like her. So I called Hannah. She didn't pick up. So I walked to her building. And at 10:03 p.m., I stood outside her door, clutching a flash drive in my hand. She opened the door in slippers and a hoodie, startled. "Mary? I need to show you something," I said. We sat on her couch, and I plugged in the drive. Inside were scans of my old artworks, the ones Rosy had stolen from another life. I had spent days redrawing them from memory the moment I came back to this world. One of them matched the sketch Rosy had shown to the principal that afternoon. You didn't draw that, I said. I did, and she's about to submit it under your name. Hannah was pale. But why my name? Because she can't use hers. She needs someone soft. Someone who won't fight back. I would never steal from you. I know, I said gently. That's why she chose you. Tears slipped down Hannah's face. What do? I took a deep breath. You fight. Who are you, really? John asked me that 3 days later, while we were walking home with matching iced coffees in hand. He didn't look at me when he said it, just stared ahead, hands deep in his pockets, that rare seriousness lining his usually lazy voice. I stopped walking. What's that supposed to mean? He finally turned toward me. I mean, you know things before they happen. You warn people about people you shouldn't know anything about. And sometimes, when you talk, it's like you've lived this all before. I froze. Because he was right. Because he saw too much. I laughed, dry, unconvincing. Maybe I'm just observant. Mary, he said quietly, you looked at Rosy like she already betrayed you. I said nothing. And you look at me like I used to mean something. That stopped me cold. I turned away. The wind tugged at my sleeves like it was trying to carry me off. You don't want to know the truth, John, I whispered. Trust me. He stepped closer. Maybe I do. That night, I couldn't sleep again. Not because of Rosy, because he saw too much. I laughed. Dry, unconvincing. Maybe I'm just observant. Mary, he said quietly, you looked at Rosy like she already betrayed you. I said nothing. And you look at me like I used to mean something. That stopped me cold. I turned away. The wind tugged at my sleeves like it was trying to carry me off. You don't want to know the truth, John, I whispered. Trust me. He stepped closer. Maybe I do. That night, I couldn't sleep again. Not because of Rosy. Not because of Hannah. Because of him. In my old life, John Boston had been a storm that I never saw coming. He loved Rosy with everything he had. He watched her die. And then he vanished from the world, just like I did. But now, here he was, walking beside me, seeing through me. And for the first time, I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep hiding. The next morning, Hannah sent me a photo. It was blurry, but I recognized it instantly. A canvas, still wet with paint. Rosy had started copying another one of my old works. This time, a sea of glass buildings under moonlight. A painting I had once called Silent City. I clenched my jaw. This wasn't just borrowing anymore. It was war. I called Hannah. We do it tomorrow, I said. The art teacher's evaluation review, bring your sketchbook. The original one. I'm scared, she whispered. I know, but I'll be there. We hung up, and I leaned against the wall, heart pounding. I didn't know what scared me more, Rosy's lies or my own growing desire to finally be seen. Not as a shadow, not as a victim, but as Mary Lane, the real version. That afternoon, John cornered me again, in the school stairwell, where the noise of footsteps blurred into echoes. He stood at the bottom, hands in his hoodie pockets, eyes dark and unblinking. Tell me what's going on, he said. I hesitated. Then I stepped down slowly and said the first honest thing I had let myself say in weeks. I've lost everything before, I said. My art, my future, my family, even my name. His brow furrowed. When? In another life. Silence. Then John laughed once. You're really weird, you know that? Yeah. But I believe you. I looked up and saw something in his face that hadn't been there before. Not curiosity, not mischief, but something softer, something dangerous. Trust. The The school's art review was always a formality. A quiet afternoon where portfolios were evaluated by teachers, and a few were shortlisted for regional competitions. In my old life, it was the day Rosy turned in Moonlight over Atlantic, the painting I had poured my soul into, and she had smiled, camaraderie, while they praised her genius. This time, I wasn't letting history repeat. I walked into the art room at 2:02 p.m., a few minutes before the review started. My sketchbook was tucked under my arm. In my coat pocket, a flash drive, one I'd prepared with time-stamped drafts and progress shots from the last month. All drawn by Hannah. All real. All hers. And Rosy was already there. She looked perfect as usual. Baby blue dress, gold clip in her hair, a delicate silver bracelet that matched her smug expression. "Mary," she greeted, as if we were still in middle school. "Decided to watch from the sidelines?" I smiled. "Not this time." Her lips twitched. "You're not even in the art program anymore." "But I am here," I said. "And so is the truth." Her smile froze. She knew. The review began. One by one, students were called up to present their works. Rosy, of course, was last. The grand finale. As if the teachers believed saving the best for last added drama. When her turn came, she stood beside the easel confidently, unveiled her canvas. Silent City. My painting. But this version was slightly off. The depth was wrong. The skyline blurred. Because imitation can never replace instinct. Just as applause began, I raised my hand. "Excuse me, Miss Taylor," I said to the art teacher. "There's been a mistake." Heads turned. Rosy stiffened. "What kind of mistake, Mary?" The teacher asked, slightly amused. "That painting wasn't created by Rosy Tennant," I said calmly. "And neither was the one she entered last semester." Gasps, whispers. Rosy's smile cracked. "You're accusing her of plagiarism?" the assistant teacher asked. "No," I said. "I'm proving it." I nodded at Hannah, who walked forward silently, hands trembling but determined. She handed over her sketchbook, the original one, pages yellowed with eraser marks and progress drawings. I stepped beside her, plugged the flash drive into the teacher's laptop, and opened the folder. Time-stamped photos, side-by-side comparisons, and even raw video clips of Hannah sketching. Her unique, quiet way of layering tones and light. Rosy was silent. For once, she had no speech prepared. When the final comparison came up, her painting next to mine from years ago, which I had signed again recently, down to every brush detail. The room fell into stunned silence. "Rosy," the head teacher said, "do you have anything to say?" Rosy looked at me, and for the first time, she didn't look powerful. She looked afraid. I was inspired. "You traced," I said quietly. "You took what wasn't yours." Again, a long pause. Then, "We will investigate this thoroughly," the teacher said. "Both pieces will be temporarily withdrawn from review." I nodded. Hannah exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for 10 years. And Rosy? She walked out without another word. That night, I found John waiting outside the school gate. He didn't say anything at first, just held out a chocolate bar. Peace offering, maybe. "So," he finally asked, "did you win?" I took the chocolate, peeled it slowly. "No," I said, "but I didn't lose." He nodded. "Fair." Then he paused. "Was it worth it?" he asked. "The whole thing?" I looked up at the darkening sky. A full moon was rising, quiet, glowing, just like in my painting. "Yes," I said, because this time no one else had to suffer for my silence. He studied me for a moment. "You're strong, Mary." "No," I whispered. I'm just awake. And in that silence, he reached for my hand. I didn't stop him. Because maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of a story I was finally allowed to write for myself. It started with a whisper. By Monday morning, it had become a wildfire. Did you hear what Mary did to Rosie? They said she forged everything. I heard she blackmailed the teachers with fake evidence. I knew this tactic well, because I'd seen it work before. When someone like Rosie falls, she doesn't fall alone. She drags someone else down with her. This was her playground now. Not art, not talent. Narrative. And in high school, narrative is everything. By lunchtime, my locker had been covered in sticky notes. Jealous rat. Copycat. You'll never be Rosie. I didn't flinch. I peeled them off one by one, dropped them in the trash, and moved on. Because I knew what came next. Online posts. DMs. Photos taken from odd angles. Accusations with just enough twist to sound believable. She wanted me isolated. She wanted John to doubt me. And for a moment it worked. That afternoon, he didn't walk me home. He didn't text me back. And when I passed him in the hallway between classes, he looked confused, torn, not cold, worse, uncertain. That night, I sat in my room staring at my sketchbook. I hadn't drawn in days. It scared me how fast I could fall back into that place, into the old Mary, the Mary who hid, the Mary who gave up. But then a knock on my window made me jump. John. He stood outside on the fire escape. Hoodie zipped up, hair messy, eyes apologetic. I opened the window. Cold air hitting my face. You're supposed to use the door, I said. He smirked. Your dad threatened me with a mop last time. I figured the window was safer. I didn't smile. Not yet. He looked down. I'm sorry. For what? For hesitating. That caught me off guard. I didn't believe the rumors, he said quickly. But I didn't come to ask either. That's on me. I stared at him. And now? I'm here, aren't I? I exhaled slowly. She's not done. I know. She's going to try and ruin me. Let her try. Silence. Then he stepped forward, reaching into his pocket. He handed me something. A flash drive. What's this? Footage, he said. The hallway camera from the art room. My cousin works IT for the school board. You're not the only one who prepares in advance. I stared at him. This time I smiled. Because maybe I wasn't the only one changing the story anymore. The flash drive John gave me burned in my hand. Inside was everything. Footage of Rosie entering the art room after hours. Footage of her opening Hannah's locker. Footage of her handing in a portfolio that wasn't hers. It wasn't just evidence. It was power. But power always comes at a price. I met with Mr. Callahan the next morning, one of the few teachers not dazzled by the tenant's reputation. He watched the footage twice, jaw tightening. Mary, this could destroy her. I didn't blink. She's already destroyed others. He exhaled. You understand what you're doing, right? Her father is the principal. He has friends. Pulling this thread could unravel everything. That's the idea. He stared at me, then slowly nodded. I'll bring this to the district board. Quietly at first. Not quietly, I said. She didn't ruin me in silence. I won't take her down in whispers. That afternoon, it began. An anonymous email, traced through a burner account I created, was sent to the local news, the education board, the National Art Scholarship Committee. Inside, footage, side-by-side comparisons of stolen artwork, statements from students who had been too afraid to speak, until now, and a short letter, signed only, a voice from the silence. By midnight, The story had gone viral in our state's high school circuit. By morning, Rosy's name was trending, not for her beauty, her charm, or her awards, but for the first real word that ever described her accurately: fraud. The school tried to contain it. Her father released a statement denying everything, calling it a targeted smear campaign. But students weren't buying it. They'd seen the video. They'd seen the art. And most of all, they'd seen how easily she shattered once exposed. Rosy didn't come to school for 3 days. On the 4th day, she showed up in all white. Clean, hollow-eyed, still trying to play the victim. She passed me in the hallway without a word. But her glare said it all. You didn't destroy me. You just woke me up. That evening, John waited for me again, but this time at my doorstep. No hoodie, no fire escape, just him, jacket in hand, expression unreadable. Can we talk? We sat on the old swing set in my backyard. It creaked like the past trying to hold us both up. I've been thinking, he said. Dangerous, I replied, trying to tease. He didn't laugh. I liked Rosy once, he said. I don't know if I ever really loved her. I think I just liked how she made me feel seen. Important. I swallowed hard. I'm not easy, I said. I've been broken, burned. I might never fully trust anyone again. I looked down. And now? He turned to me, his voice low, steady. Now I see you. I swallowed hard. I'm not easy, I said. I've been broken, burned. I might never fully trust anyone again. I don't want easy, he said. I want real. And then, softly, I want you. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was full. I didn't say yes, but I didn't pull away when he leaned forward. His forehead touched mine, and for the first time in 2 lives, I didn't feel like something stolen. I felt like something chosen. 3 days after the scandal broke, Principal Tennant called an emergency school assembly. Uniformed. Staged. Designed to flip the narrative. The gym was packed. Rosy stood beside her father on stage, pale and angelic, while he delivered a speech about cyberbullying and false accusations implying someone had doctored the footage. I watched from the 3rd row, surrounded by whispers. And then he said it. Until the matter is resolved, the art review will be voided. All entries cancelled. All scholarship nominations suspended. Gasps. But I saw the real motive. He didn't care about fairness. He wanted to erase the evidence. By invalidating the competition, he erased the crime. And just like that, Rosy got to walk away clean. Again. That night, I wanted to scream. Burn something. Burn something. Undo time all over again. But instead, I breathed, because rage hadn't saved me in the first life. And it wouldn't save me now. I met John behind the bleachers after sunset. We'll never win by their rules, I said. He's protecting her, and he'll keep doing it until someone stops him from inside. John nodded. So what's the plan? I handed him a folder. Inside, copies of financial irregularities, faculty complaints, and student files I'd found over the past weeks. Not just about Rosy, but her father. John blinked. Where did you get this? People talk when they're scared, and teachers talk when they think you're just a quiet girl in the back row. He looked at me, something like awe in his face. We send it to the district, but not anonymously, I said. It has to come from someone who doesn't run. 3 days later, the headline broke. Greenville principal under investigation for misconduct, favoritism, and art competition manipulation. Rosy disappeared after that. Some said she transferred. Others said she was hospitalized. I didn't ask. I didn't care. Weeks passed. Spring came. John held my hand in the hallway now, openly. The whispers didn't matter anymore. And me? I got my acceptance letter to the University of Chicago. Full ride, not for art, for law. Because after everything, I knew what I wanted. Not to pay justice. To be it. Pilogue. Beneath the same moon. On my last night before leaving for college, I went back to the hill above town. The place where I'd once watched fire consume a mansion and an old life. John sat beside me, our fingers intertwined. "Do you regret it?" he asked. "Coming back, changing it all?" I thought for a long time. "No," I said. "I think I was always meant to." He looked at me. "You think this is fate again?" "No," I said, smiling softly. "I think this is choice." And as the moon rose, soft and full like in my old painting, I knew I hadn't come back to change the past. I came back to claim my future. And this time, it was mine.
Thank you all for listening. To hear more interesting and unique stories, please follow and subscribe to the B Story YouTube channel.